Aloha. You're watching F5 Ask the Expert. I'm Peter Silva. As more applications move to the cloud and more organizations are using SaaS applications, identity and access management is becoming even more critical to organizations. And I'm happy to have Senior Global Security Solutions Architect Michael Koyfman with me to talk a little bit about that. Good to see you, Michael.
Good seeing you, Peter. How are you?
I'm great. Always nice chatting with you, Michael. So tell me, why identity and access management?
Well, it's a great question. The challenge is as the customers move their applications to the cloud and leverage SaaS, they are not able to leverage the data stores in the cloud, and they still need to maintain user identity and access. So what they need to do is they want to leverage their local identity stores such as Active Directory, LDAP, Novell Access Manager, whatever they might have, but they want to be able to leverage those repositories and assert the user identity to the cloud application, to the SaaS application, and provide user seamless SSO and access.
Because a lot of organizations have to sync their user databases, their user stores with cloud providers to then get that to work, don't they? And that could be a business risk, couldn't it?
Absolutely. There's a lot of concerns with that. You know, one of them is certainly the hashes of the passwords. Some of the approaches tell you to sync the user passwords, and of course they don't do the passwords, they do the hashes. But if you think about it, there's still risk if the hash is exposed. It could be reused, right? There is inherent risk when you move something to the cloud you don't have control. So a lot of customers prefer for stronger security to keep the password authentication on-premise, but then be able to assert identity to the cloud so the users can get access to whatever they're entitled to.
And so tell me a little bit about this assertion. It's essentially a third-party vouch. I'm vouching for this guy and gain him access to his stuff, right?
That's exactly it, right? So standards like SAML allow companies to interoperate and say there's a standardized ways of establishing this trust and trusting different parties saying, I am who I am, give me access.
And with our big IP platform, they can act as either within a SAML assertion. It can either be an identity provider or the service provider, can't it?
That's correct. F5 Access Policy Manager is very unique in that sense that it can act as SAML identity access provider, providing identity to another application, third party, whatever it may be. It can also act as the SAML SP service provider to be able to consume assertion from another service like identity in the cloud or whatnot, and then be able to transform those credentials into the backend SSO to provide access to the application.
And so then for organizations, I would imagine it's things like keeping their user store in-house, not putting that out. But what other benefits do organizations realize when they deploy such a solution?
Well, stronger security, context-based approach. One of the really interesting use cases that people don't realize, there's a lot of choice that they have. You know, you have companies like Octoping, Identity, One Login, Centrify, etc., and they all focus on providing user seamless access to a variety of applications using standards like SAML, OAuth, etc. But what happens is that they require you to either replicate passwords or build agents on-premise, and they provide limited strong factor or contextual authentication of who the user is once they get into the portal. The APM has been built on the premise of very strong capabilities of doing endpoint inspection, device compliance checking, certificate checks, and guess what? It has probably the most richest ecosystem of two-factor authentication. I just did Tech Talk with a CXO 2 weeks ago, and I had to put a slide deck for that. I did the research. In about half an hour, I found 17 documented integrations with various third-party OTP vendors. There's nobody I know that could match that, and that is the power of APM that we can provide. So when the users come in, we can say, you can use your favorite OTP. We can check if it's a corporate device. And once we authenticate them, then we can say, you are who you are now, do what you want.
And it's really in a lot of ways, our platform is really all about integrating with these various solutions, isn't it?
Absolutely, right? So we are complementary. There are some use cases where we can fully consume the functionality of IDP for popular cloud and service providers, SaaS applications. But in some environments where their requirements are very rich and complex and customers want to use another solution, another IAM solution, we can seamlessly plug in with that and do what's called 90p chaining. So that solution is going to come in and ask us for an assertion. We'll do the context-rich inspection, multi-factor authentication, etc. And then we'll send them an assertion saying, we know, because we will sit on-premise, so we'll know who the user is. There's no leaking passwords out. We do all the stuff, and then they can go ahead and do whatever they want after that.
Pretty cool stuff. So there's a lot of, as more of these applications and resources go to these hybrid environments, these distributed infrastructures, cloud, for lack of a better term, there's a lot of, it might be some hesitation, right, and for organizations to allow users to get in there. But this clearly is an easy way, a cost-effective and secure way to keep your people safe, but also allow them to the workplace productivity tools that they need.
Right, absolutely. And so if you look at how other vendors do it, everybody has their way of allowing you to synchronize the user database and the passwords, because that's a prerequisite for deploying that solution. And what F5 has always been doing is always a best-of-breed vendor-neutral solution, saying what is the common problem we can solve across the multiple vendors to allow our customers to have a unified approach. And that's what we become. We allow customers to not use those specific synchronization, password synchronization tools. Say, we will provide the security for the user identity into your system by leveraging a standardized way, and then the customers can free to use that IAM solution to the best of its abilities.
Pretty cool stuff. I really appreciate your time, Michael,
Thanks
as always.
Pleasure.
So a lot more about F5's identity and access management solution, but more importantly, allowing organizations to deploy those resources in the cloud, use SaaS applications like Office 365, Salesforce, Concur, all the ones that that we know and love, but also keep your users safe and allow them to get the work done that they need to get done. Good stuff, Michael. So for Michael, I'm Peter, and we're with F5 Networks. Thanks for watching.